Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today for the Saleema Accountability Framework on Harmful Practices event. I am Soraya Adi, and I will be sharing with you the rules for today's event. So for interpretation, please, if you look at the bottom right of your screen, you can see a globe interpretation. You will find English in English, French for French, Portuguese also is available. Unfortunately, Zoom does not have the option of Arabic on this platform, so you will find Arabic where it is written Spanish. Interpretation is available in all these 4 languages. Please, I will ask you when you are not speaking to mute your microphones. If connection allows, we will ask you to please keep your cameras on. And dear participants, thank you so much for being with us. You can ask your question in the Q&A section, and also you can contact us on the chat. Our colleagues are going to be sending on the chat different links to the documents which we will be discussing today. As you know, we are discussing the accountability framework on harmful practices of the African Union, and we will be basing this conversation on the African Union Decision 737 on the elimination of female genital mutilation and the Human Rights Council resolution from July 2020 on the elimination of female genital mutilation. Now, please, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to my head of division, Dr. Jane Marie Angolo, head of division of social welfare and drug control. Dr. Jane, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Soraya. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I have a very simple role and task this morning or this afternoon or evening, depending on where you are logged in from, of moderating the official opening session for this very important meeting we have today for the Saleema Victorious Youth Ambassadors. At the opening session, we have 2 distinguished excellencies. And now it is my single honor and privilege to invite our first speaker, Her Excellency Amira El Fadil, Commissioner for Social Affairs, to make her opening remarks. And just to inform you, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that Commissioner El Fadil is a champion, one of the greatest champions that we have in the continent with regards to FGM, but more broadly, women's empowerment, and has been a force behind and really under her leadership, the Saleema initiative was launched at the African Union Commission. And we are currently really running under leadership to ensure that there's no tolerance for FGM on the continent. So now allow me to invite Her Excellency. Her Excellency, the floor is yours, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jane. Good afternoon, everybody, and Assalamu alaikum from Addis Ababa. I would like first to welcome the participants, to welcome Excellency Commissioner Maria Teresa Manuela, Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa, African Union Commission on Human and People's Rights. Also, Excellency Ms. Marie Christine Bokombo, member of the ASRIWAC and the Special Rapporteur on Child Marriage and Harmful Practices. I can see her on the screen. Madame Bokombo, nice to see you. Also, Excellency Leopold Bonkongo, Ambassador of Burkina Faso. Also, Ambassador Salah Sadiq Hamad, head of AGA platform from DBA department. Now everything is changed. Now I think it's business security and political affairs. And also I would like to welcome Her Excellency Diane Keita, Deputy Executive Director of UNFPA. I hope all these excellencies are with us. I don't see my sister Keita yet, but I believe she's one of the main participants in this event. Also allow me to welcome our youth envoy, Shabi, youth envoy, and to welcome also Josephine Quelam, founder of the San Paulo Gales Foundation and member of AULIN, and UNICEF, UNFPA, all of the participants here present. And also I would like to welcome Dr. Jane as the head of the division, and she's the moderator. And I would like to welcome also our Saleema Young Victorious Ambassadors. Also, I welcome, I call them my son and daughter, Soraya and Robert. Those also are who's under Jane's supervision, leading the implementation of this very important project and very important issue, which is Saleema campaign and Saleema initiative and Saleema strategy. I welcome all of you participants here with us, and let me start by saying that my department's title is being changed now, and now the department is the Department of Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development. It used to be Social Affairs, but since yesterday, after the reform, after the adoption of the reform, this is the new title of the department. But also, the mandate is the same. They added to the previous mandate the humanitarian affairs. That's what's been added to the department, but it kept all the previous mandate plus now the humanitarian affairs. Also, me as a commissioner, I have been myself and the commissioner for HRST. We are being asked to stay another 6 months till the executive council meeting of July, because also there is no candidates for these two departments in the elections. And there is no candidates, there is candidates, but because of the regional balances, they have to be out of the race. So myself and the Commissioner of HRST, our mandate was extended by the Executive Council decision till July of this year. So we will be with you for a few months to come. Excellencies, I'm delighted alongside our strong Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors to welcome you all to this high-level event to commemorate the 2021 International Day on Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. This year, we joined the international community to condemn this harmful practice and call on member states to unite, fund, and act to accelerate the elimination of the female genital mutilation. So we are fully behind the theme of this year on the Zero Tolerance Day of Female Genital Mutilation. We have convened this meeting today with our most capable frontline human rights allies on the continent, including the African experts on human rights, on child rights, on gender-based violence, the African Human Rights and People's Rights, the Commission, the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, known as ASRWA Committee, and the African Governance Architecture Platform. You are here, all of you today, representing the highest level to guide and to advise us and to look forward on implementing with us the African Union on Female Genital Mutilation. So we are extending our hands to all of you as partners, as stakeholders. Yes, this initiative is being initiated and driven by the African Union Commission, but the implementation involves all of us with our member states. Excellencies, we also have member states for them to share with us their recommendations based on their country experiences. We have Burkina Faso and Egypt, among other member states, have 2 strong national coordination mechanisms on elimination of female genital mutilation. I look forward to hearing the best practices of these 2 countries that they will share it with us today. Our partners, the European Union, the initiator also of the Spotlight Initiative, and also the United Nations agencies, come first, UNICEF and UNFPA joint program, has supported the Saleema initiative consistently since we began in 2019. And since April 2020, the European Union became a partner in this work through the Spotlight Initiative Africa Regional Program. And I thank you for all of you, Excellencies. Let me thank you again for accepting our invitation, for accepting to be part of us in this high-level event. And I would like to stop here and to request from our partners, especially UNFPA and UNICEF, because I was part of another high-level event, maybe 3 or 4 days ago. I participated on a high-level event with some of the UN agencies, and what I missed in their presentations, and I would like those who are here today to take my message and to convey to them. I missed in the different presentations being presented by the 3 main partners we have, that they are not fully acknowledging the efforts of the African Union Commission, and they are not really acknowledging Saleema campaign and Saleema initiative. It was absent from their presentation, almost from all the presentations. So Excellencies here representing the European Union, representing UNFPA, representing UNICEF, please, we are partners. When we mention anything we do together, we are very respectful to this partnership. So we expect from you the same. This initiative, yes, it's our initiative. It's an African initiative. It's developed by Africans. It is an African Union driven. There is a resolution. There is a decision from the African Union. It's ours, but we are implementing it with you as our main partners and with the rest of our stakeholders. So just my message is not a message of blame, but it's a message of a reminder that if we hear it from you and you continue to mention it and to continue emphasizing it, that will give us the assurances that this partnership is a true and full partnership on eliminating FGM in our beloved country, Africa. Excellencies, also this is a very crucial high-level meeting for many reasons. It is a particularly important one for me as ending female genital mutilation. On a personal level, it's one of my life fights. I started working on the elimination of female genital mutilation since 1998. And I continued through my different positions in my country, Sudan. And after I came here to the African Union, and even when I leave the African Union, my commitment is to continue the fight. I dream of a day when there is no FGM in Africa, when there is a day that we can come together to say and to celebrate that Africa is free of this female genital mutilation, free from the practice. I dream that it will happen in my lifetime, and it will be with all of you that to make sure that we will eliminate FGM in Africa. Excellencies, the African Union launched the Saleema initiative in 2019 as part of their decision of the decision of the heads of state and government, charged the African Union Commission to implement and dedicate initiative on the continent to accelerate the elimination of female genital mutilation. And further, the decision further requested for the Commission to also implement an accountability framework on harmful practices. This work is done jointly with the African Union human rights organs, including the Committee on the Rights and Welfare of the Child and the Banjul Commission. This framework will ensure stronger coverage, reporting by member states, more resilient programs on the ground, stronger voices from the communities, and millions of girls attaining their fullest potential. As part of the decision launching the Saleema initiative, the African Union heads of state and government also designated His Excellency President Kabore, President of Burkina Faso, as the AU champion on eliminating female genital mutilation. And I thank His Excellency President Kabore, and allow me also to commend His Excellency the President for his commitment, for his leadership in this designation. They hosted us in 2018 in a very successful conference in Ouagadougou, and all the stakeholders were present, plus more than 20 ministers from our member states. And it's a very, very high level event. It was very successful. We were hosted in Burkina Faso, and I think that conference is a turning point, and it's what it led to having the decision of the summit of the heads of state and government on Saleema initiative. Excellencies, with the backing of the Africa Group led by Burkina Faso, the United Nations Human Rights Council adopted the resolution 44/16 on the elimination of female genital mutilation, qualifying female genital mutilation as a human rights violation under international law. And the resolution is a very important resolution, but as we all know, that when it comes to laws banning FGM, it needs a lot of work on the national level. And we have to make sure that having a law banning FGM in a country, while we are celebrating that we have a law in such country to ban FGM, we need to make sure that we will follow up the implementation of the law. We will make sure that the law enforcement people and the law enforcement officials in the government are fully aware of the law, but also they are backed up by communities, by civil society organizations, because we know that if a law is implemented in one country, the people, because they are not convinced, they will take the children across border to another country. They take the girls to another bordering country to do the FGM, and they take the girls as young as 1 week and 1 month. And we know it for a fact. There is studies, there is research about this crossing of the borders or traveling to a country with no laws implemented. So laws, my point is, it's very good to have a law, but law alone is not enough. It has to have the support of the civil society. It has to have the support of the community leaders and the religious leaders in our member states. And we need to have the awareness needed for these laws to be implemented. But we are still welcoming this resolution, and we are welcoming that some of our member states in Africa, they have adopted laws banning FGM. The Human Rights Council resolution indeed resonate with the African Union decision adopting the Saleema initiative and the all subsequent summit decisions. This is a step forward for the elimination of FGM practice. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, since adoption of the Saleema initiative on eliminating FGM, we have been able to work closely with member states, partners and civil society organizations to develop a forward-looking strategy for the initiative, which will facilitate coordinated action across the continent. It will increase resource mobilization, put a spotlight on legislative action, community engagement, and service delivery, and most critical, work to address the negative social norms that continue to drive this harmful practice. In addition, we have also begun work to articulate the African Union harmful practice accountability framework, which will provide tools and platforms for member states to peer review action and also to progress in the elimination of FGM in Africa. While we confronted the impact of COVID-19, this is our main challenge now in Africa, and it is COVID-19 globally is still a challenge. And 2020 everybody suffered, from the family level to the community level to the country level, the lockdowns, the no schools, and people losing their jobs. So it was a very difficult year, 2020. Still in 2021, we are still suffering from the hardships of COVID-19. And unfortunately, one of the impact of COVID-19 is the increase of the gender-based violence in our society. This is one of the issues because girls are kept at home. They are not going to school. They are doing more of a domestic work. They're being put to child marriage. So the situation is more complicated, is more negatively impacting our girls in Africa. It's not only the disease we are fighting, COVID-19. We are fighting the COVID-19 as a disease, but we are at the same time fighting the socioeconomic impact of COVID-19 on our communities in Africa, and we are fighting it because it created an atmosphere for more gender-based violence in Africa. Excellencies, young girls everywhere in Africa, and I call them my daughters, in West, in North, in East, in South and Central, and even those in the diaspora. I believe in them. I believe in them, and I want all of them to deliver on the Africa we want. We need to unite on all the challenges to gender equality. And this means urgently working to end gender-based violence and harmful practices. My generation has been working and we will continue to be working, the generations after me. But really, we need more the young girls and the young boys of Africa to join this fight. In the last high-level event, I called on men to join in and not to leave this fight as a women fight. Not to say that FGM is a women issue. No, FGM is a society issue. It's men's issue. It's young people's issue. So we need all of us to be part of the fight. But in this session, I would like to call more on the young girls in Africa to be part of this fight and to unite. And they have the means. They have better opportunities than my generation because of these easy communications we have. Because now they have Twitter, they have Facebook, they have more means of communications. Even in the rural areas, even in the poor areas, everybody is holding a mobile in his or her hand. So this means of communications, these revolutions of communications, it's supposed to be helping us in our fight against FGM in Africa. And that's why I call upon the young generations. They are better users of these internet communications, and they can be part of
Excellency, your microphone went off.
Sorry. Excellencies, we need to rise to the call to dedicate domestic resources to fund this work, to eliminate these harmful practices. We need funds, we need financial resources on all levels, continental, regional, and even on the national level. This demands also action from all fronts, from the family, from the community, national and continental levels, and not to forget the RECs, the regional economic communities, and also most importantly, it demands accountability. Excellencies, I have to apologize if I took a long time in these remarks, but as I said, this is one of my fights. I will never stop talking about it, and I will continue advocating for the elimination of FGM in this continent and even among our African diaspora, because we know that they are still practicing it even in some European countries. We need always to include them, and it's good that we have one of the 6 victorious ambassadors representing the diaspora. That's very important. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my department and my director, on behalf of Dr. Jane here, I thank you, all of you again, on being here available to celebrate with us and to discuss with us the Zero Tolerance Day for elimination of FGM in Africa. Thank you very much. Shukran jazilan and assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Excellency Commissioner, for setting the scene in such a powerful manner. And thank you for your timely words of wisdom, inspiration, solidarity, hope, but importantly, true partnership if we have to bring an end to female genital mutilation. Summarizing it will not do justice to your very powerful statement. So if you allow me, without further ado, I would like to invite the next speaker, is Her Excellency Diene Keita. She is the Deputy Executive Director of UNFPA. And as you know that the African Union Commission implements efforts towards eliminating FGM and other harmful practices jointly with UNFPA and UNICEF. Her Excellency, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jane. Your Excellency, dear sister Amira Al-Fadil, Commissioner for Social Affairs of the African Union Commission, Excellencies, Ambassador, Ministers, Excellency, Madam Youth Envoy, dear Aya, distinguished guests, esteemed partners and colleagues, Mesdames et Messieurs, bonjour, assalam, a very good day to you all. My dear sister, thank you so much for your wise words. First, rest assured we will remind our partners within the UN and outside the UN not to forget the African Union and the Saleema initiative. The Agenda 2030 and 2060 goes hand in hand. And thank you for reminding us that. It means only one thing: you care, you are focused, and you seek results, as we all do. So shukran jazilan. And we are so happy that you have been extended for another 6 months so that we can continue partnering and prepare for the future. There is something that is true related to FGM. FGM is caused by those who are supposed to protect the young girls. That is the harsh truth. So for that, we need to continue education of the parent, of the family, of the religious leader, etc., etc. It is my very honor to be here with you and speak at this very important and timely event. I really thank you, Madam Commissioner, for inviting me. I wish you all good health throughout 2021. We know how much COVID has impacted the entire world. Good health for everyone. Through the 2005 Memorandum of Understanding, UNFPA and the African Union coordinate their efforts and collaborate closely on advocacy for gender equity, equality, and women's empowerment, as well as for youth development. This constitutes the core of UNFPA's promise of rights and equality for all in the continent. And the Saleema initiative is one of the drivers of this promise. The UNICEF and UNFPA joint program partnership with the African Union on the elimination of female genital mutilation, initiated in 2018, led to the convening of the International Conference in Burkina Faso on the elimination of female genital mutilation under the leadership of His Excellency President Roch Marc Christian Kaboré and His Excellency, our dear sister, Commissioner El-Fadil. This galvanized country-driven interventions and led to the adoption of the Ouagadougou Call to Action on eliminating female genital mutilation and the 2019 rollout of the African Union campaign on ending female genital mutilation. Another remarkable milestone was the adoption by the African Union a decision in 2019 to reaffirm political commitment towards the elimination of female genital mutilation and the launch of the Saleema initiative. Using this opportunity, I would like to note the outstanding effort of His Excellency President Roch-Marc Christian Kaboré and his leadership and commitment to this continental initiative as the African Union champion and the elimination of this harmful practice. And truth be told, Burkina represents so well the continent and the world in the third commission as well on the same issue within the United Nations. The culmination of these efforts towards the elimination of female genital mutilation built a consensus towards the Nairobi Summit on ICPD 25, which mobilized government, international organizations, civil society organizations, and young people. In April 2020, the signing of the Spotlight Initiative Africa Regional Program by United Nations, African Union, and European Union provided for the strengthening of the African Union states legislation and policy process towards the elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls, including harmful practices. This not only provide new funds to African Union program, but also call for localization of effort through advocating for the generation of quality and reliable data from women organizations and relevant civil society bodies. The design and implementation of the initiative is shaped by regional instruments such as Maputo Protocol. The resolution of the elimination of female genital mutilation of July 2020 serves as a blueprint for developing comprehensive accountability system to eliminate female genital mutilation. The resolution had an unprecedented number of sponsors, including all African countries and European Union countries, thereby strengthening global consensus on state obligation to address female genital mutilation. It is also considered the use of holistic strategies at the horizontal and vertical level, therefore reinforcing the importance of the Saleema initiative in Africa. The devastating ripple effect of COVID-19 has created a shadow pandemic, which has been characterized by the increase of all types of violence against women and girls, as mentioned by the Commissioner, and particularly domestic violence and harmful practices such as female genital mutilation. Today, we must remain focused on our common goal more than ever, and our efforts must be reinforced. For these reasons, I am particularly pleased to be here today at this event, which will strengthen the crucial African Union accountability framework on harmful practices. For we need strong legislation, strong services, and mechanisms to ensure long-lasting implementation and impact. This is also a very special occasion as we accompany and support the young generation of women, these Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors. These youth ambassadors are bringing our collaboration to life, empowered young African voices, carrying the essential message of equality, dignity, and the elimination of female genital mutilation. We shall act together through generations, across the border, beyond any barrier, to create the world free of harmful practices with equal opportunities for our girls and future generations. I thank you all so very much. Shukran jazilan. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for your opening statements, indeed reminding us of the need to focus on our common goals to eliminate FGM. Indeed, it's a common and shared responsibility continentally, nationally, regionally, community level, and at individual level. We must all take action. Thank you very much, Excellency. So switching gear to the next session, I would just like to also mention to you, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that as part of the Saleema initiative, we've taken the accountability mechanism a notch higher. And one of the milestones in our fight to eliminate FGM has been the establishment of the Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors, as our commissioner eloquently elaborated already. So therefore, this program today is for our Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors to discuss about accountability in the continent. Therefore, the next program, as we proceed to the next program, our victorious ambassadors will be leading the program from now on to the end. So I invite our young, powerful ladies to take the floor, and they'll be introducing themselves as they take us to the next step for the rest of the program. Thank you all for listening to me, and I invite our dear ladies, youth ambassadors, to take us through the next session. Thank you, and over to you.
Before we proceed with Saada Jadid Mohammed, who is our Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassador for Central Africa, can I please ask that all participants, panelists who are not speaking, mute their microphones. Interpreters included, please, for the devices that you are not using to speak, please mute your microphones. Thank you very much. And now the floor is to Ms. Saada Jadid Mohammed. C'est à toi, Saada, je t'en prie.
Bonjour, Excellence. Bonjour, Excellence, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs. Je m'appelle Saada Jadid Mohammed. Je suis l'ambassadrice victorieuse pour la jeunesse Saleema de l'Afrique centrale. Je suis titulaire Bonjour, Excellences, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs. Je m'appelle Saada Jadid Mohammed. Je suis l'ambassadrice victorieuse pour la jeunesse Saleema de l'Afrique centrale. Je suis titulaire d'une licence en droit, puis d'un master en ingénierie de développement territorial. Je suis par ailleurs membre d'une association qui œuvre en faveur des personnes démunies. Depuis plus de 5 ans que je suis dans la vie associative et aujourd'hui je suis engagée dans une lutte qui est très noble et c'est celle de la mutilation génitale féminine en Afrique. J'espère qu'avec toutes les parties prenantes, nous pourrons mettre fin à cette pratique d'ici 2030. Excellence, Monsieur l'ambassadeur Bukungu, merci d'avoir accepté notre invitation. Nous sommes aussi ravis que le Burkina Faso, champion de l'Union africaine sur l'élimination des mutilations génitales féminines, soit représenté aujourd'hui. Ma question pour vous est la suivante. Comment la République du Burkina Faso coordonne-t-elle ses actions au niveau national? Et à travers quelle commission de l'Union africaine peut-elle renforcer l'action nationale des États membres? Merci.
Madame la modératrice, j'ai compris que la question est adressée à la délégation du Burkina. Je peux y aller?
Oui, bien sûr, Excellence, s'il vous plaît.
Mais merci bien. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadeurs, des représentants des États membres de l'Union africaine et des pays partenaires, Madame l'envoyée spéciale de l'Union africaine pour la jeunesse, Madame la commissaire en charge des affaires sociales de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Madame la directrice exécutive de l'UNFPA, Mesdames et Messieurs les hauts représentants des pays partenaires et organisations partenaires, Madame le rapporteur spécial sur le mariage des enfants et autres pratiques néfastes, distingués participants et Mesdames et Messieurs. Et je tiens à remercier Madame la commissaire aux affaires sociales et Madame la directrice exécutive pour les propos liminaires et les compliments et les mots aimables exprimés à l'endroit de son Excellence, Monsieur le Président du Burkina Faso et champion de l'Union africaine contre la pratique des mutilations génitales féminines. Et d'entrée de jeu, je voudrais exprimer l'appréciation des plus hautes autorités du Burkina et pour la tenue de cet événement des victorieuses ambassadrices de la jeunesse Saleema est consacré au cadre de responsabilisation sur l'élimination des mutilations génitales féminines. Et comme vous le savez, l'événement de cet après-midi se tient à la suite du lancement du programme des victorieuses ambassadrices de la jeunesse qui s'est tenu en novembre passé. Et à l'occasion, un certain nombre d'engagements avaient été pris aux fins de renforcer les actions de lutte contre la pratique des MJF. Et la délégation du Burkina se réjouit que les victorieuses ambassadrices de la jeunesse Saleema aient pris la juste mesure de la mission qui leur a été confiée dans le cadre du renforcement des mesures de lutte contre la MJF. Et je voudrais saisir l'occasion pour souligner l'importance de son Excellence, Monsieur le Président du Faso, et champion de l'Union africaine et chargé de la conduite de l'initiative Saleema sur l'accélération de la lutte contre les MJF. Donc l'importance que le champion accorde à la tenue de cet événement. Il me plaît d'apprécier également les actions et les initiatives menées par le département des affaires sociales et département conduit par Madame la commissaire. Et c'est l'occasion pour la délégation du Burkina et de lui exprimer toute son appréciation et tous ses remerciements et pour le travail appréciable et abattu et surtout pour son engagement dans le cadre de cette initiative Saleema. La délégation du Burkina estime que cet événement qui s'inscrit dans le cadre de la commémoration de la journée internationale de tolérance zéro contre les MJF et représente un cadre privilégié de partage d'expériences et de bonnes pratiques et également de leçons apprises. Et nous estimons qu'il est essentiel de capitaliser les acquis et de mobiliser l'ensemble des parties prenantes dans le cadre de cette lutte. Et Madame l'ambassadrice victorieuse Saleema, pour ce qui est de la question précise qui a été posée à la délégation du Burkina, à savoir de quelle manière le Burkina coordonne-t-il ses actions nationales relatives à l'élimination des MJF? À travers quel mécanisme la Commission de l'Union africaine peut-elle renforcer cette action nationale ainsi que son rayonnement continental? Et je vais, si Madame la modératrice me le permet, passer la parole.
Pouvez-vous, la personne qui a ouvert son micro, s'il vous plaît, pouvez-vous l'éteindre jusqu'à ce que son Excellence termine de parler? Je vous remercie.
Donc, je disais que concernant la question précise que l'ambassadrice Victoria Saleema a posées à la délégation du Burkina. Et avec votre permission, je vais passer la parole à Madame Alphonsine Sawadro, qui est la secrétaire permanente du Comité national de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision au Burkina Faso, de vous faire une brève présentation. Merci bien.
Merci, Excellence. Madame Swadogo, la parole est à vous.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Merci donc à toute l'équipe pour la parole. Et comme l'a dit Excellence, Monsieur l'ambassadeur, nous sommes très ravis donc de partager l'expérience du Burkina Faso en matière de coordination donc des actions de lutte contre les mutilations génitales féminines. Il faut dire qu'au Burkina Faso, la coordination des actions relatives donc, à la lutte contre les mutilations génitales féminines se fait à travers le Conseil national de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision, en abrégé CNLPE. Vous savez, depuis plus de 3 décennies, le Burkina Faso s'est engagé dans cette lutte farouche contre cette pratique néfaste. Et de façon formelle et de façon concertée entre l'État, la société civile et les partenaires techniques et financiers, nous avons mis en place ce dispositif pour coordonner justement cette lutte pour plus de résultats. En effet, cette lutte constitue une priorité pour le gouvernement du Burkina Faso, qui a inscrit justement les mutilations génitales féminines comme un problème de santé publique. De ce fait, cette volonté politique de lutter contre les VBG de façon générale et particulièrement les mutilations génitales féminines s'est manifestée par la création par décret présidentiel du Conseil national de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision depuis 1990. Et ce conseil est assorti donc d'un secrétariat permanent dont j'ai la responsabilité en collaboration avec 5 autres de mes collaborateurs. Et il faut dire qu'au terme de ce décret, le décret a toujours été relu pour prendre en compte les préoccupations du moment. Alors donc, le décret a été relu récemment en 2018, en septembre 2018, pour élargir les membres. Aussi, ce décret est intitulé Décret 2018-886, presse PM, ministère de la Femme, de la Solidarité nationale et de la Famille, ministère donc de l'Économie et des Finances, ministère de l'Administration territoriale, du 27 septembre 2018, portant création, attribution, organisation et fonctionnement du Conseil national contre la pratique de l'excision. Alors, il faut dire que ce conseil est placé sous la tutelle technique et administrative du ministère en charge de la femme et est présidé par Madame la ministre. C'est Madame la ministre qui est la présidente du conseil et sous la tutelle financière du ministère en charge des finances. Au terme du décret, les attributions donc du conseil sont, entre autres, le décret définit les orientations politiques nationales en matière donc de promotion de l'élimination de la pratique de l'excision dans le pays. Il doit aussi examiner et approuver les stratégies. Toutes les stratégies doivent être validées, les programmes, les plans d'action, les budgets doivent être validés par le Conseil en ce qui concerne la promotion de l'élimination des MGF dans notre pays. Le Conseil appuie aussi à la mobilisation des ressources matérielles, financières et humaines nécessaires à la lutte, à la mise en œuvre donc de ces différents plans. Il faut dire que ce conseil comprend, les membres du conseil comprend, ce conseil d'abord est déconcentré, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a le niveau national, mais il y a aussi le niveau régional, le niveau provincial, le niveau communal, donc tout est décentré comme une sorte de pyramide qui va de la base vers le haut. Et donc, les actions sont coordonnées du bas vers le niveau central, qui centralise et qui diffuse maintenant les informations. Donc, toutes les informations parviennent au niveau du secrétariat permanent qui diffuse donc les informations. Donc, les démembrements, il y a aussi des cellules ministérielles et des cellules institutionnelles qui sont également mises en place pour pouvoir coordonner les actions au niveau institutionnel. Alors, chaque démembrement du conseil est présidé par le premier responsable administratif. Donc, quand nous prenons au niveau régional, c'est le gouverneur qui est le président du conseil régional de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision. Vous prenez le niveau provincial, c'est le haut commissaire qui est le président du conseil provincial de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision. Vous prenez le niveau départemental, c'est le préfet qui est le président du conseil départemental de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision. Et au niveau des communes, parce que nous avons pris en compte la décentralisation du pays, c'est également les maires qui sont les responsables de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision. Et au plan institutionnel et administratif, ce sont les structures techniques du ministère en charge de l'action sociale qui assurent le secrétariat permanent. Quand vous prenez au niveau régional, c'est le directeur régional en charge de la femme et de la famille qui est le secrétaire au niveau régional pour mener la lutte contre la pratique de l'excision. Vous prenez au niveau provincial, c'est le directeur provincial. Au niveau communal, il y a les services communaux de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision, etc. Alors, revenant au niveau national, il faut dire que le conseil est composé donc d'un président, qui est la ministre en charge de la femme, de deux vice-présidents. Les deux vice-présidents, il y a un premier vice-président qui est le ministre en charge de la santé. Vous savez que la question des MGF implique beaucoup les questions sanitaires. Il y a un coutumier qui est le représentant donc du coutumier de Mowo Nava chez nous, qui est une personnalité très respectée et qui donne vraiment sa parole pour la lutte contre les MGF, qui est le deuxième vice-président du Conseil. Et au niveau des membres, nous avons des représentants des structures de l'État, notamment les différents ministères et les institutions, concernés par la lutte, bien sûr. Quand nous prenons, pour exemple, je peux dire, il y a le ministère en charge de l'enseignement. Vous savez que nous avons les modules que nous introduisons au niveau donc de l'enseignement. Il y a le ministère de la Santé, il y a le ministère de l'Information pour les questions de communication, il y a le ministère de la Défense, parce qu'avec l'application de la loi, les forces de défense et de la sécurité rentrent en ligne de compte. Il y a le ministère de la Justice, etc., etc. Ensuite, autres membres, il y a la société civile avec tous les réseaux d'ONG et associations, de femmes, de praticiens, des jeunes, des professionnels. Quand je prends par exemple l'association des sages-femmes qui luttent contre la pratique de l'excision, l'association des professionnels, des travailleurs sociaux qui luttent contre la pratique de l'excision, etc. Tout ce beau monde font partie donc de la société civile et qui interviennent. Il y a des représentants des leaders coutumiers et religieux. Il y a des représentants de la jeunesse et des enfants à travers le Parlement des enfants. Chez nous, c'est organisé. La jeunesse a une instance fêtière et également les enfants ont leur fêtière nationale. Et donc, toutes ces instances sont représentées au sein du Conseil. Il y a également des membres d'honneur. Le Conseil a des membres d'honneur en la personne de la première dame du Burkina Faso et le professeur Akotonga, qui sont des personnes ressources aguerries contre la lutte contre la pratique de l'excision et qui jouent un rôle important d'appui conseil et qui facilitent le plaidoyer en faveur donc des actions du Conseil national de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision. À côté donc de tous ces membres, nous avons les partenaires techniques et financiers qui sont également conviés au Conseil et aux assemblées générales du Conseil comme membres observateurs et peuvent, par exemple, donner leur avis, des propositions, des recommandations spécifiques liées à certaines questions donc de la lutte contre les MGF au Burkina Faso. Donc, pour ce qui concerne l'organisation, voilà un peu comment c'est organisé. Maintenant, au niveau communautaire, vous savez, nous avons au Burkina Faso plus de 300 associations et ONG qui interviennent dans le domaine de la lutte contre les MGF dans les 45 provinces que compte le pays. Alors, il faut organiser aussi à ce niveau pour pouvoir mieux capitaliser les données et surtout que la lutte soit beaucoup plus efficace. Alors, nous avons à leur niveau
Madame
une
Swadogo,
organisation.
Madame
Oui.
Swadogo, je suis désolée de vous interrompre. Je vais vous demander, s'il vous plaît, si vous pouvez conclure, car nous avons d'autres participants et qui doivent ensuite aller à d'autres réunions. Si vous pouvez, s'il vous plaît, résumer votre propos et conclure. Je vous remercie. Et j'en profite pour demander aux participants de ne pas dépasser 3 minutes, s'il vous plaît, si on veut pouvoir tenir l'emploi du temps pour tout le monde. Merci beaucoup de votre compréhension.
Désolée, je n'avais pas une idée du temps qui m'était imparti, donc je vais aller rapidement. Et donc, le Conseil donc, est l'organe décisionnel qui organise la lutte au niveau donc, du Burkina Faso. Et il y a le secrétariat permanent qui est le bras pour la mise en œuvre donc, de toutes les recommandations issues donc, de ce Conseil. Alors, venant à la deuxième question, quels sont les mécanismes, quel mécanisme la Commission peut-elle mettre en place pour renforcer donc, cette action nationale? Et je dirais que actuellement, avec l'organisation actuelle, nous avons des difficultés pour la dynamisation et l'opérationnalisation de certaines instances du Conseil au niveau régional et au niveau provincial. Donc, ça rend difficile la capitalisation de toutes les énergies donc mises en œuvre pour la lutte contre les MGF. Alors, nous proposons de façon concrète qu'on ait un appui à l'opérationnalisation et à la dynamisation donc, de ces démembrements du Conseil, et également à la formation, le renforcement des compétences donc, des membres donc, de ces démembrements, et une contribution à l'écriture et à la mise en œuvre d'un nouveau plan national de promotion de l'élimination de la pratique de l'excision au Burkina Faso, parce que nous sommes à terme de notre plan stratégique national en 2020. Donc, nous devons un nouveau plan stratégique. Nous souhaitons aussi avoir un soutien à la réalisation des activités des réseaux, des différents réseaux de lutte contre des ONG et associations de lutte contre les mutations génitales, et il faut mettre en place incessamment la fêtière nationale des organisations donc, de la société civile. Nous souhaitons également qu'il y ait un soutien pour l'élaboration et la présentation des rapports institutionnels et alternatifs sur la mise en œuvre des différentes résolutions, surtout la résolution 1644 qui vient d'être adoptée par le Conseil des droits de l'homme. Et soutenir également la tenue des rencontres de coordination. Le décret prévoit 2 rencontres, mais nous n'arrivons pas à souvent tenir ces rencontres de coordination. Donc, si nous pouvons avoir un soutien dans ce. Alors, donc, il s'agira de renforcer les interventions de manière générale du Conseil national de lutte contre la pratique de l'excision à travers donc son secrétariat permanent, qui est le dispositif national chargé de la supervision de la coordination de toutes les actions de lutte contre les MGF au Burkina Faso. Agissons vraiment ensemble pour atteindre la tolérance zéro aux mutilations génitales féminines en 2030. Je vous remercie pour votre aimable écoute.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Swadogo. À présent, avant de passer à notre prochain intervenant, nous allons avoir une petite pause de 2 minutes à travers une vidéo qui illustre le partenariat qu'il y a entre les 3 institutions qui sont l'Union africaine, les Nations unies et l'Union européenne. Amha, please, can you have the first part of the video?
How are you, my daughter, and your belly? Is Emmanuel ready to be a daddy? Hope all is well. It's been a long time now and only a few months to go. No way! The baby will grow and will know every day what was done to her, and there'll always be a piece missing of her. You'll upset your family, and you'll upset me. I refused for you to be cut, and now you want to cut your own daughter. Please, before you make this decision, watch this video I'm sending you.
Je m'appelle Compaoré Latifatou, plus connue sous le nom de Lati. Je m'engage aujourd'hui à lutter contre les MGF à travers mes textes de slam et à travers les activités que j'organise souvent à l'école pour sensibiliser mes camarades et leurs parents. Je vous remercie. Au revoir. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Abimbola Aladejare, and I'd like to welcome you again to this very important accountability event. I'm going to be standing in the shoes of my sister. I'm going to be standing in the shoes of my sister, Dikel Daha, who is the Saleema Victoria's ambassador for North Africa, who is unfortunately unable to join us due to family emergencies. I'd like to welcome our guest, Mr. Amar Ahmed Abdelha. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that well. The first secretary of Egypt's embassy. Welcome very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency Amir Al-Fadl, Commissioner for Health and Humanitarian and Social Development, distinguished participants, Your Excellencies, let me first extend my appreciation for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here to share the experiences and to learn from each other experiences how the work to eliminate this phenomenon in Africa works.
I think there is a problem with audio, Suraya. Sorry to interrupt. I think there is an audio problem.
You can not hear.
Can you check,
Excellency?
Very much so.
Here in Addis, we cannot hear.
Really? I can hear Mr. Amr Mukhtar.
I can hear him here too.
Are you on which channel of interpretation are you, Excellency? Are you on any channel of interpretation?
I will check if it's my device, right? Just a minute, I will check.
Yes, of course.
Okay, can you speak now? Let me check.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's me.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Excellency. And thank you, Mr. Ama Ahmed. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Abimbola Alade Jari Salako. I am the Saleema Ambassador for West Africa. I am specialized in advocacy for girls and women's rights. And I've been doing this for the past 10 years of my life. I am a survivor of FGM. And because I am a survivor, I understand the pain that survivors have to go through. Beyond the policies and programs and activities, I understand what it feels to be that a part of you is cut off and it can unlikely be replaced. I've been doing the End FGM campaign since 2009 thereabouts. And I do this using a platform of a non-governmental organization that I founded in 2012. And what we do basically is to identify champions, identify survivors, and amplify the voices of these survivors, particularly using grassroots communities, because we understand that most of these practices are being carried out at these grassroots communities. So what we do is to train this champion who go for door-to-door campaign, and we bring together community leaders like traditional rulers, like religious leaders, like service providers, nurses, Jews, circumcisers. We bring them together, youth leaders, to come together at a community platform where we talk about FGM. Most of the communities that we have engaged, that's the first time the community is coming together to talk on issues of women and girls. And that's very surprising. And one of the key successes that we have had is that we have been able to support over 50 communities to abandon the practice of FGM. We get support from funders like UNFPA, who have funded us to do some community engagement. And we've had over 50 communities abandon this practice and put in place sanctions, community-driven sanctions for anyone that practices female genital mutilation. And another key success story for us is that we've had traditional rulers, kings, come out to abandon the practice. And when they do that, it sends a lot of signal because they are known to be the custodian of culture. So Mr. Ama Abdelha, pardon me if I didn't pronounce your name well. I want to go quickly to the question that I have for you. I can see that you're very much ready for us. The question I have for you, sir, is what are the best practices that Egypt as a nation recommends to be replicated by other member states? What are the links that have been created with the national authorities and the judicial system to implement the legislative measures? Because it's one thing to have legislative measures, it's another thing for there to be synergy between those who implement them.
Thank you so much, Abimbola, for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation extended to Egyptian Embassy. Your Excellency, Commissioner Amir Al-Fadl, Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, distinguished participants, and Your Excellency, ambassadors. It's my pleasure to be here to share the Egyptian experience and work to eliminate the phenomena of FGM. Let me start from 2017. I will not go far beyond, but in 2017, Egypt launched its national strategy for the empowerment of Egyptian women. This strategy has 4 pillars: political empowerment, social empowerment, economic empowerment, and the 4th pillar is protection of women from all forms of violence. The strategy, when we talk about violence against women, is not limited to protecting women only in the public sphere, but also providing protection in the workplace and also domestic violence. Domestic violence here represented mainly by female genital mutilation and early marriage. So the aim was to reduce, regarding FGM, to reduce the proportion of women of FGM in the age group between 15 to 49 years of age who have previously been married and have been mutilated from 92.3%. This was a percentage in 2014 to 55% in 2030. So almost after 9 years from now. And also the aim for girls under 19 years old who have been expected to be mutilated to decrease the percentage to 10% by 2030. Now it's 56%, unfortunately. Egyptian Constitution of 2014 has 18 articles for the protection of women. And let me state Article 11, which states that the state shall protect women against all forms of violence and ensure enabling women to take a balance between family duties and work requirements. Regarding the law and legislations for FGM, prohibiting FGM, the first law was introduced in 1997. It was a decision by the Minister of Health to prohibit FGM. However, the practices was not prohibited because there was like a kind of excuses that could be used, which is a permission of the medical practitioner, so that the phenomenon wasn't prohibited. So another amendment came in 2007, which was a criminal code regarding FGM. It was introduced in 2007. It's penalties for criminalizing FGM. Article 242 from the Criminal Code stipulates that anyone performing female genital circumcision shall be punished by imprisonment, and this was the first time to introduce imprisonment for no less than 3 months and no more than 2 years, in addition to financial fine. Also, another amendments came over in 2016, and the penal code in 2016 redefined FGM as a felony rather than a misdemeanor, and increased the penalty for performing FGM from 5 to 7 years of imprisonment, and could extend up to 15 years in jail if the act of FGM leads to death of the victim or a permanent disability. In 2007, I'd like to refer to the religious establishment in Egypt issued a verdict that FGM has no basis in the Islamic Sharia laws. And this was actually a double verdict from the Mufti of Egypt and also from the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. And this produced a big advancement for eliminating the phenomenon. In 2021, this is very recently actually, the Cabinet of Ministers of Egypt introduced an amendment to the Code of regarding prohibition of FGM. But this amendment has first to go to the Parliament, which is an amendment to Article again 242, provides that whatever performs FGM, the punishment shall be rigorous imprisonment. So rigorous imprisonment for a period not less than 7 years, and if the leads act to death, the punishment shall be rigorous imprisonment for not less than 10 years. The decision actually it's 2 pages, so it has a lot of articles and a lot of regulations regarding this issue. The Egyptian government, the Egyptian states are working on the legal framework to eliminate this phenomenon, and also regarding the practical framework. The Women Council of Egypt, they are establishing special units to eliminate violence, all forms of violence against women. And there are offices in all the Egyptian governorates, all the provinces, to get reports or get complaints regarding violence against women. And not only the Women Council, but also Ministry of Interior. The Ministry of Interior and its state interior ministers in all the provisions and all the governorates of Egypt, they have offices that are working mainly on eliminating violence against women, and also in the judiciary. There are 8 shelters were provided for women who were surviving from violence. These shelters were provided by the Ministry of Social Solidarities, and also where clinics are established which are specialized against violence against women inside the Egyptian Ministry of Justice. Of course, during the institutional framework, there is a national committee for eliminating FGM, and it has all stakeholders, ministries and government bodies, and also civil societies to coordinate the work to eliminate this phenomenon in Egypt. Regarding the latest statistics, we have the percentage of FGM of ever married women in age group 15 to 49 years has decreased from 92.3% in 2013 to 87.2% in 2015. This is like 6 years old. This is the last one I have statistics. While the percentage of FGM for girls in age group 15 to 17 years has decreased up to 61.1% in 2014. As we mentioned, the aim is to have 10% by 2030 below the age of 15. So this is like outlining the legal framework for eliminating the FGM in Egypt. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. First Secretary of the Embassy of Egypt. Please, before I give the floor to our next Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassador, Paleza Machao, I would like to ask kindly all panelists, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to please try and stick to the 3 minutes time for your answers so that we can have the time to listen from everyone. Thank you very much. Please, Paleza, go ahead.
Egypt Embassy. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paleza Machao, and I am the Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassador for Southern Africa. I am a storyteller and a filmmaker simply because how we tell our stories as Africans, as women, for women, and about women matters. For the longest time, we didn't have control over our own narrative and have always been spoken for. These same reasons made me direct and produce my own film titled Lebollo, which means initiation, which the film is about an old woman who is a survivor of female genital mutilation. Representation is in the forefront of this film to actively influence people's self-evaluation, empowerment, and attitudes towards female genital mutilation. The film got selected in various film festivals, for example, the Gauteng Film Commission and the Cameroon Film Festival. So with that, I believe that with the right research, storytelling can shift social norms, values, and beliefs more effectively about FGM compared to traditional fact-based messaging. And I challenge us that we from now on incorporate telling and sharing stories which break the silence on female genital mutilation. I now will ask the question to His Excellency Ambassador Jean-Leon Gandulunga for the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They unfortunately could not make it today, but we will send the question to them for their kind answer. And the question for them was, as the coming African Union chair, how can the Democratic Republic of Congo, through its reinforce the AAC's actions to end gender-based violence and more specifically, female genital mutilation at the light of the Human Rights Council's resolution? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Paleza. Yes, unfortunately, the Democratic Republic of the Congo was not able to join us today, but we will, as you said, send them the question for the reports that we will issue from this event. So now we are going back to Abimbola Aladejare for her question to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Abimbola, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Please go ahead, take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. So I welcome you all again, and I have this exciting question that I would like to ask our Excellency, Maria Teresa Manuela, the Commissioner for Women's Rights, the Commissioner for Women's Rights and the Human and People's Rights Commission. When I saw the question, I was really excited. Like, okay, this one talks about me as a survivor of FGM. So good afternoon, Your Excellency. I believe we have her with us. Good afternoon, Your Excellency, ma'am.
Yes, we do. Please go ahead with the question.
Okay, so the question I have is, with a global number of 200 million girls and women having undergone female genital mutilation, of which 125 million of those women are here in Africa, of which include myself, my other 5 sisters. So we know that 200 million is not just a number. So what are the mechanisms that have been put in place? What are the mechanisms and policies that the African Commission on People and Human Rights has been founding its work on gender-based violence. We'd like to know what are the mechanisms and what is the Commission's role now that FGM has been criminalized and recognized as a human rights violation. Over to you, Nick.
Muito obrigada. Muito boa tarde a todas e todos. Estou grata pelo convite que me foi formulado para podermos, então, partilhar algumas informações, partilhar este tema que é interessantíssimo, que é da iniciativa Saleema. E, então, vou tentar dar uma resposta sincronizada sobre o que efetivamente a Comissão Africana pensa sobre esta questão.
Excellence, je suis
Mais
désolée.
concretamente, desde o momento em que foi reconhecida a mutilação genital feminina como violação de direitos
Excellence,
humanos.
vous m'entendez? Excellence, je suis désolée de vous interrompre. Nous avons un problème d'interprétation. On ne vous entend donc pas dans les autres langues. Je vais vous demander juste un petit instant, le temps que nous réglions ce problème technique, parce que nous avons très envie d'entendre votre réponse à cette question.
J'attends, pas de problème.
Merci beaucoup, Excellence.
Já posso prosseguir? Muito bem.
Alors, un instant.
Ok, devo dizer que a Comissão Africana, na sua organização interna, como foi bem dito, tem um mecanismo que atende os direitos específicos da mulher. E este mecanismo, inclusive, é anterior à existência do protocolo de Maputo. Com o surgimento do protocolo de Maputo, então, houve uma sincronização de tarefas no sentido de dar resposta às questões específicas que afligiam a mulher africana em relação ao CEDAW, por exemplo, e outros protocolos de outras organizações regionais que atendem a mulher no geral. Então, a partir do protocolo, mas já disse que antes já tínhamos esse mecanismo, desde 1999, este protocolo virou, portanto, tornou-se numa base jurídica fundamental com que o mecanismo trabalha, mas isto sem descurar os demais instrumentos regionais e internacionais. O mecanismo tem trabalhado arduamente e tem imensa bibliografia publicada. Entre toda esta bibliografia, recomendo a leitura do último boletim que foi publicado pela relatora especial sobre direitos da mulher, que terminou o mandato este ano, a senhora Lucy Aswagbor. Temos ali uma súmula daquilo que efetivamente o mecanismo sobre os direitos da mulher tem feito a nível da União Africana e da Comissão Africana, e este boletim foi lançado em 2 línguas neste momento, está em inglês e em francês, que penso que são as línguas que mais dominam desse lado, e foi lançado no 30º aniversário da Comissão Africana dos Direitos Humanos e dos Povos. Em relação à questão que me foi efetivamente colocada, devo dizer que a Comissão Africana trabalha com um plano quinquenal, que neste momento está sendo repartido em planos anuais. A prioridade, claro está, que situa-se na monitorização das políticas sobre a implementação dos direitos humanos das mulheres nos 54 países. Devo também dizer, talvez, sei que as pessoas dominam esse aspecto, que cada um dos 11 comissários que integram a Comissão Africana acompanha 4 ou 5 países para verificar como é que é aplicada a Carta Africana e os respectivos protocolos no país. Então, no mecanismo interno, o mecanismo do direito das mulheres incumbe a cada comissário para verificar o que se passa no seu respectivo país sobre as práticas tradicionais nocivas. E entre estas práticas tradicionais nocivas, então, Neste momento, estamos a falar da mutilação genital feminina, mas não é a única prática nociva. Nós temos estado a trabalhar para que, quando um determinado país apresenta um relatório da Comissão Africana, nos termos do artigo 62 da Carta Africana, traga uma parte específica sobre como está sendo implementado o protocolo. E no protocolo temos ações específicas sobre práticas tradicionais nocivas, entre as quais a mutilação genital. Para a Comissão Africana, a mutilação genital feminina sempre foi considerada uma violação de direitos humanos da mulher e da rapariga africana. E no seu programa de atividades, agora tendo em conta as declarações emitidas com maior realce para os resultados da conferência organizada sob a égide da União Africana em Ouagadougou, em 2018, outubro, cujo tema foi redinamizar a ação política para acelerar a eliminação das mutilações genitais femininas até 2030, e onde, efetivamente, um dos resultados mais visíveis foi a aprovação desta iniciativa Saleema, de que hoje estamos a falar. Como órgão da União Africana, devo dizer que estamos alinhados com as decisões e vamos trabalhar para que sejam esta iniciativa e todos os programas em volta desta iniciativa sejam disseminados e discutidos a nível de todo o continente. Outro tronco, outro patamar em que vamos trabalhar é a prevenção. E nós, a nível da Comissão Africana, a prevenção significa formar e trabalhar com todos os atores interessados, e inclusive atores a interessar. Por quê? Porque há países onde as pessoas, não tendo conhecimento das questões, não há ninguém interessado em trabalhar nisto. Mas, como é uma iniciativa africana, deve abranger e deve incluir todos os 54 Estados-membros. Devo dizer que também vamos continuar a trabalhar e vamos acelerar e vincar formas apuradas de supervisão, tanto a nível nacional como regional. Neste trabalho, se houver necessidade de novas diretrizes ou princípios, isto poderá ser feito em tempo útil, organizado, mas em cooperação com todos os atores, com especial atenção para aqueles que neste momento já trabalham nesta área, para influenciar até ali onde a nossa competência for possível, que os Estados mudem a legislação. Mas para nós, Comissão Africana, só legislação não é suficiente. Não é suficiente porque nós sabemos que nos nossos países africanos a legislação é abundante e é boa, é da melhor que há. E muito progressiva. Estamos preocupados com a prática. É aqui onde reside o problema, é na prática. Porque muitas vezes nós percebemos, a nível da Comissão Africana, que nós próprias, mulheres africanas, é que perpetuamos esta prática. Se nós conseguirmos conversar com a mãe, com a avó, com a tia africana, sobre o mal que é feito à jovem rapariga, que por vezes é mutilada aos 8, 9 anos, nós vamos conseguir progressos. E nisto estamos a contar com todas as forças vivas. Não sei se são 5 ou 3 minutos, mas vou aqui convidar todas as organizações não governamentais e todas as outras instituições africanas, e não só, que trabalham com estas matérias para colaborar com a Comissão Africana e juntos trabalharmos no sentido da erradicação das mutilações genitais femininas. Outro meu apelo, meu convite vai para Sua Excelência, o Senhor Presidente de Burkina Faso, a quem foi incumbida a tarefa de supervisionar esta iniciativa Saleema, a manter acesa a chama que lhe foi entregue pela União Africana, coordenando de forma certeira as instituições todas na luta contra a mutilação genital feminina. Porque, infelizmente, percebemos que tem estado a aumentar exponencialmente durante este período de pandemia e também, com a migração africana, extrapolou para outras fronteiras. Mas nós devemos continuar a lutar para que o nosso problema não se perpetue e que a nossa mulher africana não sofra, não continue a sofrer. Aliás, a senhora que me interpelou diz que é uma testemunha viva desta situação. Temos que lutar para que isto termine, não amanhã, não hoje, mas que a nossa ação tenha começado ontem, em 2020, antes da aprovação do protocolo africano. Devo efetivamente agradecer-vos por este tempo que me deram para falarmos sobre estas coisas e dizer que vou colocar esta minha intervenção por escrito para poder partilhar com todos os participantes nesta atividade. Muito obrigada, obrigada mesmo pelo convite que nos foi formulado.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for your answer and for your intervention. Indeed, we do need implementation. Now, Excellencies, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow us, we will go to the second part of our video for 2 minutes, and then we will come back to the next moderator and the next speaker. Thank you. Amha, can we please play the second part of the video? Saada, peux-tu couper ton micro, s'il te plaît?
Burkina Faso is hosting a conference on ending female genital mutilation.
This practice, it can be eliminated from Africa. We just need to renew our political commitment as African member states.
On peut ne pas exciser une fille et pour autant respecter sa culture, respecter sa tradition, et être fier, n'est-ce pas, de sa communauté.
Le président du FASO a été désigné champion dans le combat contre les mutilations génitales féminines. Et partant de l'expérience du Burkina Faso, l'Union africaine appelle à une intensification de la lutte contre les MGF sur le continent.
Un mécanisme galvanisé, intensifié et accélérer l'action politique au niveau régional et national.
We signed an agreement with religious and cultural elders from Kenya to eliminate FGM by 2022.
All of it depends upon women and girls taking control over their bodies, over their choices and their futures.
Saada, c'est à toi.
Merci, Excellence Marie. Oui. Merci, Excellence Maria Teresa Maniela. Honorable Madame Boukoum, en votre qualité de rapporteur spécial sur le mariage des petites filles et autres pratiques néfastes, permettez-moi vous d'abord de vous remercier pour votre présence aujourd'hui parmi nous. Ma question est la suivante. L'harmonisation peut-elle garantir un meilleur cadre de responsabilité régionale et faciliter la mise en œuvre nationale des pratiques régionales et internationales? Quelles sont les lacunes juridiques identifiées par les comités affectant la responsabilité? À vous la parole, Madame l'Honorable. Beaucoup.
Merci. Bon après-midi à tous. Et pour répondre à la question que vous m'avez posée sur l'architecture, est-ce que l'argent des lois peut aider à la responsabilisation, en fait, à la mise en œuvre de la responsabilisation des États? Je voudrais dire que, bon, son Excellence, la commissaire Amira El Fadi l'a dit dans son intervention, légiférer est très important, mais les lois ne suffisent pas. Et le problème en Afrique, nous avons des lois sur beaucoup de choses. Le problème, c'est la mise en œuvre, l'application de ces lois. Et donc, il est important d'avoir des mécanismes nationaux pour assurer la mise en œuvre des lois. Et non seulement au niveau de la mise en œuvre des lois, au niveau des structures judiciaires, mais également impliquer les communautés dans la réalisation, dans la mise en œuvre de ces lois, par des actions très poussées de sensibilisation, par des opérations qui permettent à ces communautés de s'approprier les programmes qu'on veut mettre en œuvre, parce qu'une fois que l'appropriation est faite, la mise en œuvre est beaucoup plus facile. Donc, pour répondre à votre question, l'harmonisation est très importante, parce que l'harmonisation, c'est l'existence d'une loi, c'est la base à partir de laquelle on peut mener toutes les actions nécessaires et également prévoir des sanctions. Sans la loi, il est difficile de prévoir des sanctions. Prévoir des sanctions et donner les moyens pour que ces sanctions puissent être mises en œuvre lorsque des cas de violation sont constatés. Comme je n'ai que 3 minutes, je ne vais pas trop développer cet aspect. Pour revenir au niveau du comité, bon, comme vous le savez, la charte est très claire sur l'interdiction des pratiques, des pratiques néfastes, dont les mutilations génitales féminines sur les enfants et le mariage d'enfants. C'est vraiment interdit par la charte. Et donc, lorsque le comité examine le rapport d'un État, on regarde réellement qu'est-ce qui se fait au niveau de la législation, au niveau des mécanismes, au niveau, par exemple, des structures qui existent et également au niveau des budgets, parce que le problème que nous avons, des discussions qui leur sont allouées sont très dans d'autres secteurs, il est très difficile même d'identifier le quota qui est attribué à ces actions. Donc, ce que le comité fait, donc, c'est également pour aider les États pour mettre en œuvre les dispositions. Nous émettons ce qu'on appelle les observations générales. Nous avons fait une observation générale conjointe avec la commission de Banjul sur l'interdiction du mariage d'enfants lorsque l'Union africaine a lancé en 2014 cette campagne pour mettre fin au mariage. Là, nous avons, à sa dernière session, le comité a décidé d'élaborer une observation générale sur l'interdiction des MGF, parce que l'observation générale va donner va expliciter aux États et aux organisations de la société civile ce qui est attendu d'eux dans la mise en œuvre de ces dispositions et également leur donner les différentes étapes, comment rapporter également sur ces... Et on pense que l'élaboration de cette disposition, de cette observation générale va vraiment aider à identifier les problèmes, les progrès, mais également les obstacles et voir comment on peut aider à lever ces obstacles vraiment pour arriver à l'élimination des MGF en Afrique. Je voudrais saisir l'occasion vraiment pour saluer le Burkina Faso, l'Égypte et d'autres pays vraiment qui ont pris le problème à bras le corps, ont légiféré, ont mis en place des législations, mais ont également mis en place, en appui à ces législations, des mécanismes au niveau central et au niveau local pour s'assurer que les politiques définies et les stratégies définies à plus haut niveau sont vraiment appliquées et comprises au niveau de la base. Donc, la harmonisation, oui, et c'est important, c'est la première étape, mais la mise en place de mécanismes et l'implication de tout le monde est très important pour pouvoir vraiment arriver à cette notion de redevabilité réelle des États et des individus sur l'élimination des MGF. Je vous remercie. J'espère avoir répondu à votre question. Merci.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Honorable Madame Marie-Christine Boukoum, for your response about harmonization and implementation efficiency. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Basma Kamil. I'm the Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassador for the Diaspora. I'm an FGM survivor and an activist for women's and survivor rights to get mental and medical support. I started advocacy for FGM survivors since 2 years with Forward UK as a Tuwizeshe Fellowship in London Cohort 2019, doing a social action project about Egyptian survivors documenting their stories with FGM encouraging women and girls to speak about their experience with FGM and share their pain and the consequences of being mutilated. Also to break the stigma and help ending FGM in my society. During my fellowship, I worked closely with mentors and women who believed in young people and empowered us to share and develop projects to end FGM and to stop violence against women, guided me to get psychological support where it was life-changing for me. And I'm here today representing the African youth and the female genital mutilation survivors and advocating for women's right to get medical and psychological support, which can help them to get over the trauma and feel whole again. And I feel the responsibility to advocate for ending female genital mutilation and support services provision in all member states where survivors can access easily. I would like today to welcome His Excellency Ambassador Salah Hamed, the head of the African Governance Architecture, and address a question to him about how to design an accountability framework on human rights within the African Union ecosystem at the light of Human Rights Council qualification of FGM being a human rights violation.
Basma, thank you very much for your question, and thank you for having me this afternoon. And I hope you were able to find your wallet. BBC spoke about you losing your wallet, which is very unfair.
Yeah, that's right.
To lose your wallet in Paris, the city of the lights. But anyhow, I'm sure everything happens for a reason. And I'm sure things will be all right with you. Thank you very much. Let me quickly, since I don't have much time, to begin my statement or my answer by making a general statement. I always fear that this issue of genital mutilation or female genital mutilation could be used as a political manifesto by politicians until they reach where they want to reach and then they forget it and shelf it. I think the role of you as ambassadors is to make sure that this issue is active all the way. Not only active, but in fact is addressed at all levels. Before we come to this issue of accountability, I think we also need to address issues related to culture, issues related to traditions, issues related to social services that is needed for the victims. Yesterday, I read on one of the articles that was posted in a local newspaper in Nairobi that a young girl at the age of 14 was given by her parents in exchange of cows. This happened yesterday, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, yesterday, while we are now sitting talking about the rights of girls not to really undergo this very serious crime. So I think there's really need now to establish that accountability framework. But before we establish the accountability framework, there is really need to ensure that our member states are committed politically to enforce the ratified treaties. It's not about only ratifying a treaty, but in fact, it's about implementing the treaty at the national level. In many cases, we don't see that our member states are committed to the implementation of the ratified treaties at the national level. And I think to make sure that there's a very active framework on accountability at the national level, we need to ensure that the parliamentarians are quite involved because they have the legislative power to oversee the implementations of decisions by the executive. We need also to make sure the judicial at all levels are involved. And moreover, there is also need to make sure that our religious and traditional leaders are also quite involved. So then we will not make that, then we'll make sure that there is no any loopholes that could also, through them, there will be some practices under the shade, as we say. In many countries now in Africa, there are laws. There are laws that are punishing this crime, but we still see that this practice is going on. It's going on, and those who practice it, they are not brought to justice simply because the system is not working. The system is not functional. the system is not operational. At the level of the African Union, we cannot really speak in the presence of Her Excellency Amir Al-Fadel, who is leading this initiative. But let me just quickly say that all members of the African Governance Platform, all members, organs and regs are committed to work with you as ambassadors to make sure that there is a commitment at their levels. Not only a commitment, but in fact, there is also an involvement when needed at the national level. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency Ambassador Saleh Hamid, for your answer. Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Kausar Musa. I am the Saleema Youth Ambassador for East African regions. I am an advocate for the elimination of female genital mutilation and therefore a co-founder of youth-led initiative called Solace for Somaliland Girls Organization, which aims to eradicate all forms of female genital mutilation. Being a survivor of FGM, myself motivated me to fight against this and to fight and abolish this horrendous practice because I have gone through it and I understand its pain. The similar pain that my 5 sisters had also gone through, the pain that every survivor is dealing with it until today. At a young age, I thought this was part of our fate. And as a Muslim woman, that we have no way of running away from it, but to accept it and to go through it. For me, it was the education that enlightened me about this painful practice and gave me a different perception about culture, something that we as a humanists put in place and we can live if it's harmful like FGM. For me, I do understand that some of the reasons why, as a part of community, including parents, religious leaders, government sectors, are enabling young girls to go through this practice is because of the lack of enforcement and education about this practice and its harm. Therefore, I decide to empower girls through education in order not to repeat the same mistake. And I urge people in power to do the same and to put in place laws that protect young girls and workers at the same time. And for now, I would like to ask a question. Dr. Jane Uluche, the head mission of social vulnerable groups and drugs. My question is here. What new channels and mechanisms does the qualification of human rights violation openness for Saleema initiative, and why is it a national domestication of African Union policies relevant for social development for Africa? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and a very pertinent question indeed. And the question also really relates to implementation of legislation and accountability. And I want to tell you that it's important that we move from policy into action so that we can realize the attainment of rights for all, especially the girls that we're talking about today. As we all know, the AU developmental agenda talks about leaving no one behind. But we see that the reality is different. From the stories that we've heard today, horror stories of young girls and women facing FGM. These are crimes of horrendous proportions and which have interfered with several rights of girls. I want to link these rights with social development. It has interfered with their rights to develop fully into women, right to education, right to choice, and in turn have limited their life options and opportunities. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore in these areas that we must collectively be purposeful in translating all the good intentions we have had into action that will directly affect the lived realities of young girls and women who are victims of FGM and other harmful practices. As we know already again, the AU together with its member states has developed various policies, strategies, and programs
to equalize opportunities and to ensure human security through, among other, social protection and social welfare services, with specific measures to address vulnerability. But these measures can only be taken on at the community level where the girls are and at the national level. I need not emphasize the fact that we need young girls to be in schools, that we need equity and equality so that all girls are enrolled in schools, that we need to end harmful practices. All this to ensure girls are able to go out into the world and achieve their fullest potential. This is where, therefore, legislative action and accountability becomes critical. We need strong laws, as much as laws are not an end in themselves, but we need laws that can anchor these rights, that can ensure that girls are going to school, that can ensure that girls are protected. Justice delivery systems need to be in place for action to eliminate FGM. For this to work, people must be at the center. Communities must be engaged at all levels, as indeed has been elaborated by previous speakers, to ensure that there's ownership for legislation, that legislation and laws would make sense for people. Ownership for justice delivery mechanisms. And we've seen excellent examples from some of our member states, including Burkina Faso and Egypt, who spoke earlier on. With legislative action and accountability working well at national level, where there's adequate ownership from communities, we will see stronger action and reporting by member states. And through the Saleema Young Victorious Ambassadors, we can drive this work even further by highlighting the urgency for action. Indeed, even as we talk about member states, but I want to say that the Victorious Ambassadors, you can be the voices for those voices left behind. You can be the voices against inaction. You can be the voices to amplify the best actions and practices on the ground. And finally, therefore, in this path, we can make a strong way forward together towards inclusive social development. The AU on its part, again, as was eloquently presented by our commissioner, will coordinate the work and synergistically work with all the organs and programs, including the Victorious Ambassadors, the Banjul Commission, the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, to strengthen continental accountability platforms by working directly with member states so that implementation can take place where the action is. And thank you. With those few remarks, thank you very much, and back over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jane. Thank you for that answer and your intervention. I am being told that Her Excellency Commissioner El-Fadil now needs to leave us. You haven't invited us to your home, the Saleema Initiative. Now you are trusting the young Saleema ambassadors with it. We will continue the event and report back to you, Excellency.
My apologies, I have to join another event.
Of course.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Soraya.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Excellency.
All the luck.
Thank you. Okay, so now we go to our next moderator, Palisa Mashao, our SIVA from Southern Africa. Palisa, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Perfect. The floor is yours, my dear.
Thank you, Dr. Jane Ongolo, Head of Division of Social Vulnerable Groups, Drug Control for the African Union Commission. And I now introduce to you Ms. Mirela Tushimenena, the Global Coordinator for the UNFPA and UNICEF Joint Program on FGM. Welcome, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation for this important event. My question for you today is, how is the global program creating the necessary links between the political leaders and the grassroots stakeholders to facilitate implementation, notably national human rights coordination mechanisms? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question. It is a great honor that I joined this exciting and much needed conversation. But before I addressed, although she already left, I really wanted to commend Commissioner Amira El Fadi for her leadership in championing the Saleema initiative and for shedding the light for its importance. I and my entire team and the entire UN institutions, we were thrilled to have her as one of our keynote speakers, along with a few Saleema Initiative ambassadors to moderate and to commemorate the International Day of Zero Tolerance of Female Genital Mutilation with us on February 5th. We are slowly progressing towards a systemic change, especially during this global pandemic. And it's important that our leaders, institutions, and policymakers, youth, and our girls to be part of the new narrative towards achieving SDG 5.3 by 2030. And as the Deputy DNA mentioned, also adding Agenda 2063. Commissioner Al Fadi, I'm really hoping that you will get to hear what is really from the bottom of my heart. I am, as an African woman and the new global coordinator of the UNFPA UNICEF Joint Program on FGM, wish to reiterate that the Saleema initiative is of a great importance to the entire Joint Program team and its partner, and we need Ms. Seda Jadid Mahat, we need Ms. Basma Kamel, Ms. Dikel Dia, Ms. Palisa Mashao, Ms. Kosa Muse, Ms. Adimola Aladejere, our 6 victorious Saleema ambassador to amplify our vision, in particular understanding the nexus between FGM and harmful practices, to hold our institution accountable to accelerate its elimination by 2030. We shouldn't be turning our backs on this struggle, a struggle that personally resonate with the Global Joint Program as we continue to advocate and fund our girls, women, and the community at large. So to answer your question, this is how the Global Joint Program, which is one of the largest program in the elimination of FGM, create the necessary linkages between all stakeholders. For instance, for those who attended the Nairobi Summit, the success of the Nairobi ICPD Summit enabled the joint program to create a space, if I may add, as a matter of urgencies, as 2030 is around the corner, to provide strategic leadership and establish a coordinating platform to work with member states, grassroots organizations, including youth, national human rights institutions, regional CSOs, RECs, to develop a strategy for engagement. The global program also brings a new perspective, angles through the Saleema initiative and partners to hold government accountable to their commitment to respect and protect the right of the girl child. As the global program, joint program, also engaged with political leaders, and our engagement are designed to support and reinforce local level effort and initiative. Having said that, I know I only have 3 minutes to answer the question, but I really had to mention that we recently launched the primer, and the primer is really a vision through the joint program to enhance the national human rights institution and to build from translating our commitment to a more action-oriented and accountability on FGM elimination by 2030. And in addition, we also organize capacity building efforts to enable grassroots stakeholders to take advantage of the political processes and initiatives to inform their work and effort. There's a lot of examples, but what I wanted to add at the end that this is our time, we mean business. This is the decade of action. Now more than ever, the Global Joint Program, the African Union, the Saleema Initiative ambassadors, we have all together a daunting task on our hands, but with a clear strategies and willingness to work collectively, we should be able to help our member states who have committed to this cause and institution to sustain the commitment towards the commitment they made at the Nairobi Summit. Lastly, I wanted to reiterate that the Global Joint Program remains committed to see through the total elimination of FGM by 2030. So let's continue to unite, fund, and act to end FGM by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tushinina, and also for the very precious support of the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program for now many years with the African Union and especially the Saleema initiative on female genital mutilation. Now, before we go to our next moderator and our next speaker, let's have another very short break. A 2 minutes video. Amha, can we please play the video?
And obviously seeing it happen in my own home with my mom and aunt that it happened to, and obviously around my community as well. You know, you see it so often that it starts becoming normal.
Look at the Spotlight initiative. It's already up and running in 25 different countries at the moment, and also in Africa, 8 different countries already. So I think that the Spotlight initiative is one important and very strong tool in order to fight against violence against women.
But much more about bringing on another generation, a younger generation, influencers, using the media that we have now to put a stop to it and to change mindsets and to find champions that will be alerted to this and fight for this cause. In each situation, as you said, there are different responses from early child marriage to female genital mutilation. And also the basic violence and sexual abuse. And so we have an opportunity now to scale up that response and to make it much more apparent.
With the Department of Social Affairs, we jointly opened a call and overwhelmingly received over 2,000 applications from young leaders doing tremendous community. It was important that we have the diaspora represented. It was important that we are opening the space for more diverse voices of young women working on ending FGM to be part of their home institution.
Thank you very much. Basma, please take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Soraya. Thanks for Mrs. Marie Tushinina for trusting in and believing in Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors, and we hope that we will not let you down. And I would like to welcome Mr. Thomas Heigebari, Head of Cooperation, European Union Delegation to the African Union, and pardon if I pronounce the name wrong. And I have a question today for you about what support is the European Union providing through the Spotlight Africa Regional Program, and what the best practices from the European Union accountability system can be learned from in the African context on female genital mutilation and girls and women's human rights more generally.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be able to join this
amazing event and to join the Saleema initiative, and also in particular to hear the Saleema Youth Victorious ambassadors who have all very personal stories and are real champions to make progress on this very important agenda. And I would like to thank you to allow me to say a few words indeed about the Spotlight initiative and the second part of the question. I think the European Union is the first investor in gender equality around the world, and the Spotlight initiative is the world's largest targeted effort to end all forms of violence against women and girls. Launched with a seed funding commitment of 500 million euros in 2017 from the European Union, the initiative represents an unprecedented effort to invest in gender equality around the globe, and is a precondition and driver for the achievement of the SDG 5 that was mentioned also by other speakers. Furthermore, the EU, together with the UN, is reaching out to get others to join the Spotlight, to allow widening the number of countries to be included in the initiative. The Africa part of the Spotlight initiative is the biggest part. It has an allocation of 250 million, or half of what is foreseen for Spotlight, and has currently actions on the ground in 8 countries: Liberia, Malawi, Mali, Mozambique, Niger, Nigeria, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. And the African regional program is complementing that work on the ground with a substantive allocation of 30 million euro, and is in that context that we work very closely together with the African Union Commission. And I think one of the things which we find very important is that multilateral organizations such as the AU, the UN, and the EU joining hands in this important area of work. This African regional program has 3 pillars: working on legislation and policies, quality and reliable data, and strengthening women's movements and relevant civil society organizations. To expand a bit more, the regional program is supporting the EU to put in place legislative and policy frameworks on violence against women and girls, specifically on FGM and child marriage, and to translate them into action plans. I think it has been mentioned throughout, laws in itself is not enough, it's how we get to real translation and action on the ground. And it's in particular to help also the Maputo Protocol to be ratified and implemented. The second pillar, the program is also focused on the collection of quality, disaggregated and globally comparable data on all forms of violence against women and girls. This data will then be analyzed and used in line with international and regional standards to inform laws, policies, and programs. I think without up-to-date data, I mean, it's really hard to pilot the action. And so I think from that perspective, the importance of working on that. Finally, and I think very importantly, is to get to a transformation, we need local communities, community-based organizations, civil society, traditional and regional leaders to be engaged and agree on the need to change the situation. And so I think the last pillar is to reinforce that. Some concrete achievements so far of the Spotlight, in a nutshell. In the Gambia and Nigeria, groundbreaking legislation to criminalize FGM has been adopted. 530,000 girls have received FGM prevention support and care, and 2,000 communities have made public commitments to abandon this harmful practice. And lastly, the program has also galvanized community movements towards social change, and through the encouragement of more than 3,000 communities representing to make public declarations of abandonment of FGM. Let me quickly say just a few things about what the EU, what the European Union is doing within the European Union to tackle female genital mutilation. First of all, I think we know about 200 million victims of FGM worldwide. According to data collected in 2016 and 17, we have about 500,000 in the European Union. In the European Union, we have a strong framework on FGM, but implementation remains also challenging. So I'm not here actually to say that we have the trick. It is continuous work, and I can only illustrate some of the things that is being done in Europe, and maybe some of it can indeed be an inspiration also for possible things to be done in Africa. We tackle FGM in different ways. It's the legal protection, the improved access to support for victims, instilling social change and capacity building of practitioners. And let me start with the last part, the capacity building of protection. EU is investing in teachers, doctors, nurses, police officers, lawyers, judges, teachers or asylum officers to protect women and girls. And since 2017, we have a very wide EU web-based platform on FGM that was launched to initially train these professionals who are in contact with girls at risk and women who have undergone FGM, to better equip them to prevent it and support these women. But also, and then most importantly, I think this is what the web-based platform has become, is a platform where experiences are shared. And I think that is also what is so important. I mean, I've been working in the past specifically on Ethiopia, and I've seen amazing stories of for instance, Dr. Boge's KMG work and transforming communities and decisions with specific methodologies. I think these positive experiences, these methodologies of bringing a community together to change a practice is what we can learn from. And so we should stimulate that. On the protection side, we protect women and girls in migration by ensuring their access to medical and psychosocial care, as well as legal support. As you understand, I mean, FGM is to a certain extent specifically related to migration. Through reforming our common European asylum system, we are now able to better address the specific needs of female asylum seekers who have experienced gender-based violence or harm. Member states have now an obligation to identify asylum applicants with special procedural and reception needs due to their gender or consequence of serious forms of sexual violence. And if such needs are identified, our EU member states need to provide adequate procedural reception support to these vulnerable applicants. Well, finally, of course, prosecution is an important one. The legal aspect, FGM is a crime in all EU member states. And in almost all of them, prosecution for conducting FGM also abroad is possible, following the principle of extraterritoriality. This prevents families from taking their daughters to their country of origin to have them mutilated there. Lastly, on prevention, beyond legal and policy changes, as I said, FGM will only end when societies challenge and condemn the norms that propagate the practice. And the European Commission supports this change, not just at political level, but also at grassroots level, involving fathers, mothers, girls, boys, and faith or community leaders alike. And for that, we have awareness raising programs and also in particular, informing victims of their rights and support services available to them. There is much we've been doing, but there is a lot more we are determined to do. It is our duty and our commitment to work hard and put an end to a violation that deprives women of their fundamental rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency Mr. Thomas, Head of the Cooperation of European Union Delegation to Africa and to African Union. And now I would like to ask a question. Dr. Josephine Kulun, here is my question. Which tool is to prevent the civil society organizations for them to be effectively included in the Saleema Youth Accountability Framework? What mechanisms do civil society organizations put in place
to assist the government implementation, recommendation, the decision-making of human rights organizations such as the African Committee of Human Rights and People's Rights and the African Committee of Experts of Rights and Welfare of a Child and the UN Human Rights Organization. And the floor is yours.
Dr. Kulea, can you hear us? Dr. Kulea is the representative here today for the African Women Leadership Network. Thank you so
Yes,
much
I
for
had the
accepting
question.
our invitation. Yes, and she is also the founder of Samburu Girls Foundation. We are very happy and very honored to have her. So the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Hi, my name is Dr. Josephine Kulea. I'm the founder of the Samburu Girls Foundation. And Samburu is a northern community in Kenya. I mean, we are from north of Kenya. We are pastoral community. Samburu Girls Foundation rescues girls from female genital mutilation, child marriages, and other harmful cultural practices. And we put them in a rescue center. We enroll them to schools, and then we reconcile them to their families so that they are able to reconnect. And we've rescued 1,500 girls in the last 10 years. This year we're celebrating 10 years as an organization. And we've had success stories of our girls graduating and being successful and who have not gone through FGM. Samburu community does, we are at 86% FGM as we speak. So that means girls are still being cut in high numbers. So I want to congratulate the AU for having this platform to end FGM, and especially the Saleema End FGM initiative, because at least I can see there's progress and we are bringing everyone on board so that we can talk about this topic, which is very important to everyone. So back to Kenya, we are lucky because we are among the countries that have passed their laws to end FGM. And I would say that as much as we have a few communities like ours who have very high numbers of FGM rates, but there is a lot of work going on the ground. I also want to congratulate our president for being a fighter, for being at the forefront. As you heard him in the video saying that he's committed to end FGM by 2022. Yes, I know we are in 2021 and you're asking why is it at 86% and maybe other communities more. But I want to assure you for sure, since he made that promise, there's been a lot of progress at the grassroots levels. Like we have an anti-FGM board of Kenya who have been on their toes since then. And we'll give an example what they have done in my community, because they have been coming here and engaging us at the grassroots level and wanting progress. And I will say for sure that we've had progress because the elders have been engaged. We are a patriarchal community. So the elders said that you've been engaging women and girls. And now that you've come to talk to us, I think it's time we gave this topic a thought. So that was last year. And good news this year, they are inviting the president actually next month to Samburu community so that the elders can declare an end to FGM. So it is possible. So back to your questions on the tools for grassroots CSOs, I think what needs to happen is we need harmonized tools. And these include the reporting tools for grassroots accountability, because we have many girls who are suffering. Many girls are being reported, but they are not being accounted for. For example, during Corona, when schools closed in Kenya, so many thousands of girls went through FGM, and we literally reported over 500, which were reported through our organization, because we are reachable to the community, and we are phone call away, we are a message away, and because our rescue center was closed because of COVID measures, so we could not accept these girls. So unfortunately, so many girls went through FGM in 2020 because of lack of the rescue or the implementation. But I think the Saleema harmonized tools will help us capture such cases and have a platform to report. Apart from the capturing data tools, we need to have tools like what of all the girls who've been rescued? Can we put them, can we account for them? Where are they now? It's not enough to say we've reached 10,000 girls or 1 million girls. Where are they today? Did they succeed? Because sometimes we bring girls on board, but we don't follow them up. And I think that is what is lacking. There's no progress, or call it monitoring and evaluation tool, of all the girls that we've been able as Africa to help and to rescue and help them succeed. And lastly, we need what we call an accountability tool on how FGM work is being funded in Africa. Because right now, FGM work is being funded a lot, but I will tell you for free, being a civil society organization at the grassroots level, we have very small funding to end FGM. So we need money to go straight to the grassroots women and girls, because that is where the issue is, and that's where the shoe is pinching. And that is when, I'm sorry, that was the interruption, but I'm saying that we need more funds to go to the grassroots organization, because they're the ones handling the girls directly. These girls don't just need to be reached out to, they need to be rescued, they need to be kept in a safe place, they need to be educated, and they'll put education in capital letters. Girls need to be monitored. What we do in our organization, we rescue them, enroll them to schools, because most of them are not in schools, and we work with them until they finish university. So I believe if we have those three main tools, the capturing tools, the progress, the monitoring and evaluation tools, and the funding tools to capture how much goes directly to the FGM, I think that on how we are accounting for our girls, and not just the girls, but also how we've been funding that is meant for those girls in a proper manner. Thank you very much, and I want to congratulate all of you for the good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Kulea. Now we're going to go to the fourth part and the last part of our video, and we will have the honor to listen to Ms. Aya Shabi, our very own African Union Youth Envoy. How can we please play the last part of the video?
Oh, hello. I've never done this live thing before, but I wanted to act to end FGM.
And to raise the awareness about the harm caused by FGM to women, not only physically, but also psychologically and mentally.
Because as a survivor of FGM, I understand the pain the survivors of FGM go through.
By speaking up its harm on women and inspiring the rest of the community to join the movement.
Dans l'espoir que Dieu me sera meilleur, l'Afrique que je vis est une Afrique unie, prospère et connaissant des valeurs humaines.
FGM is not recommended by Islam, as some might believe it is.
And it also does not leave room for young girls to get to grow to maturity in their natural form.
And I will act against FGM. This harmful practice ends now, and I will not let it happen to the next generation.
Thank you very much. Now, without any further ado, we're going to be closing this event. Thank you, everyone. And I am very happy and I'm honored to introduce to you Ms. Aya Shabi, the African Union Youth Envoy. She has been the Youth Envoy for 2 years. Now she is closing her mandate. She has an amazing work for African youth, engaging, involving, bringing them to the decision-making table, shaking things up, as she always says. And we were very glad and very happy at the Department of Social Affairs to be collaborating with her on the Saleema initiative. This is how the Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors program was born. It was through a partnership between the Department of Social Affairs and the Office of the Youth Envoy to involve African youth, and more specifically, African young women, directly into the accountability process, directly into the political process, and to have them at the decision-making table. So please, dear Aya, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Soraya. And I love the videos, by the way, I really enjoyed it. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to join the session and deliver the closing remarks on the Accountability Framework on Harmful Practices event. This has been such a powerful 2 hours or so engagement, so thank you all for being here throughout. But also for me, I think it's the start of a breakthrough in the advocacy and accountability pathways to FGM, because the Saleema Victorious Ambassadors today have been the co-leaders of the process, and I'm very proud that my office partnered with the Department of Social Affairs, or the Department of Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development now, under the leadership of Her Excellency Amira Al-Fadel for the creation of this amazing, amazing program. I remember when we launched in ICPD in 2019, we didn't know what to expect, but here we are co-creating the first of its kind platform for GBV survivors and activists to be at the heart of the process of eliminating FGM. And you've heard them, you've heard their inspiring stories and very bold, outspoken positions. So my dear Saleema sisters, let me start with you. You really hold in your hands an important responsibility. You represent the power of young people, and that power means the demographic power, where the majority on the continent and in the world and in history, the innovation power, the digital power, the youth-led accountability power, and you represent all these superpowers, and your ambassadorship to the Saleema initiative will change for the better the lives of millions and millions of girls and women. The meaningful participation of young people at the highest level of political spaces and at decision-making tables has been one of the main principles of my mandate at the African Union the past 2 years. I came in myself as a young woman, and I made sure to open the door for other young African women and men to engage with our institution in line with His Excellency Moussa Faki's vision, the chairperson of the African Union Commission. And the road has been long but steady. So from the African Youth Charter adopted in 2006 to the theme of the year in 2017, harnessing demographic dividends through investing in the youth, to the creation of the Office of the Youth Envoy by the chairperson of the Commission in 2018, to the Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassador in 2020. So this is the journey that brings us together today, and this is how slowly but steadily the African Union transformed the youth role from beneficiary to active participants, from subjects to drivers of development. Young people are no more subjects of development, but we are co-creators of the Africa we want. Today, also, my sisters, you have convened a meeting which represents a milestone, I think, in our political and legal mission, bringing regional, international policies closer to the people and bringing people closer to their human rights. This is what an accountability mechanism means at country and community level. And what has been done today, I think it's a crucial step. But this work, however, does not end here with this event. This work is just beginning, because FGM continues to be one of the most extreme forms of violence against women and girls. As it has been said by so many speakers, it's rooted in the attitudes, the beliefs, and the norms promoting gender inequality. And it is recognized now around the world as a gross violation of girls' and women's rights. So the next step, it makes total sense, the next step of this commitment is accountability. And accountability means that we will be working as one with a unique framework, as communities, as governments, as civil society, as young people, as international organizations, as religious leaders, chiefs, researchers, police officers, like Ambassador Hamad said, as parliamentarians. Everyone has a role to play. Accountability is the involvement of all stakeholders. And today we heard the United Nations. Thank you, Her Excellency Diane Keita, for joining us. We heard the European Union, the African Commission on Human People's Rights, the African Committee of Experts on Rights of the Welfare of the Child, and Honorable Buchan said something very important, that the issue is implementation of the policies and the ownership at the community level. So once we have the legislative framework, we need ownership. We also heard from Burkina Faso and Egypt, two great examples, and it's essential that our member states are continuously engaged. It's essential that women support each other in the fight, but also that men act on women's rights. And since we have 55 heads of states and government men in Africa, FGM is also political, and ending FGM needs political will from our heads of state and government as much as it needs community engagement. We need also to recognize in this accountability framework that FGM is not an isolated human right violation. It's a cycle for girls. When girls go through FGM, they're more likely to drop out of school. When they drop out of school, they're more likely to undergo early child marriage, forced marriage, stripping them from their rights and childhood choice. So we heard these stories over and over again, and I think we now need to break this cycle. In the Saleema accountability framework, we have, I think, an opportunity through the SIVA program to bring these realities, these voices, to develop maybe a guideline for youth engagement at national and regional mechanisms on human rights, including freedom of expression, including the right to education, climate justice, and so on and so forth. So this is a continental challenge in front of us, and the solution needs to be Pan-African, because the objectification of women is anti-Pan-African. It derives its roots from patriarchy, from colonialism, from racism, and it's completely anti-Pan-African to seek to control women's bodies, minds, and desires in the name of culture, faith, or any other excuse. So we need to really unite as a continent, as a Pan-African continent. We need our Ubuntu to be accountable to the girl child. And in this Pan-African accountability movement for Saleema, I think this is what I would call it, it also must be intergenerational. We need to foster intergenerational co-leadership, which is what we're doing today. We need to listen to each other's perspectives across generations, because ending FGM is a demand from young people. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, as I conclude, let me thank you for accepting young people's invitation today. The Saleema ambassadors are here to learn from you and your wisdom while sharing their innovation and being the bridge between our institution and the grassroots. They are amplifying this work and messaging to their peers so that this practice end with our generation. I want to sincerely thank Commissioner for her leadership, and the Office of the Youth Envoy is committed to continue to work with her departments and with partners who are always available, ready to act, ready for action, for mobilizing African youth. Thank you to everyone for the contribution, for speaking passionately, because we need to speak up and work passionately from our hearts and minds to move this agenda forward. I want to thank all permanent representatives to the African Union who participated. Thank you to the partners, the UNFPA, UNICEF joint program, UN agencies, civil society, everyone who was with us. I will end with a quote from a filmmaker, Osman Samben, who said, "The development of Africa will not happen without the effective participation of women." And I think, as it's about culture and heritage, it's very fitting to screen Osman Samben film Muladi and have a public debate, because it doesn't only provide a model for how women's solidarity can help resist patriarchal brutality like FGM, but also provides a roadmap on how men can be part of that solidarity. So let's keep the momentum, and hopefully we'll meet again on a movie screen and debate. Thank you, and Soraya, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ayat. Thank you very much for your insightful closing remarks and the vision that you have of taking the Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors platform maybe to the next level and having it as a possible model for the engagement of youth on other accountability frameworks. Excellencies, distinguished guests and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so much for your support in this agenda of the elimination of female genital mutilation. It was a pleasure for us to have you all here. This session was very important. The Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors will take all the information that you have given us today. We will be drafting a report, and then we will be sending it to all of you, all stakeholders, all member states, all CSOs, everyone with your recommendations and follow-up questions so that we will co-build together the Saleema Accountability Framework on harmful practices. This will include FGM, female genital mutilation, which we have referred to today because we are commemorating the International Day of Zero Tolerance to Female Genital Mutilation. But the Saleema Accountability Framework is also going to work on child marriage. So you will also see that appear in the report. Now, please allow me to call the 6 amazing moderators of this event, our very own Saleema Youth Victorious Ambassadors, so that they can say goodbye to everyone. Ladies, please turn on your mics, turn on your cameras, and let's show big smiles to everyone and say goodbye. Saada, s'il te plaît, mets ta caméra et ton micro. On dit au revoir. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bon succès.
Bye. Merci beaucoup, Excellence. Merci beaucoup. Dr. Jane, thank you so
bien,
much for
Madame
your
Soraya,
support. Thank you.
Pour les
Merci,
bonnes
Excellence.
dispositions
Merci à
prises.
vous.
Merci bien.
Merci. Merci mille fois, Excellence. Merci à vous.
Thank
Dr. Jane,
you.
thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
everyone.
your support. Robert, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Excellency, Commissioner
you.
Maria
Merci.
Teresa, thank you so much. Alphonsine,
Merci à tout le
mille
monde.
fois pour votre participation. Nous sommes en contact pour la suite.
Oui. OK.
Très
bon.
bien. OK.
On a fini.
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much to the UNFPA Liaison Office for all their support. Amha, you are wonderful. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who has supported us from the Department of Social Affairs, from the Youth Envoys Office, the amazing Saleema ambassadors. I'm not going to thank you. This is your event. Thank you for all participants for coming, and thank you for the joint program, UNFPA UNICEF, for supporting us on this. Okay, now we are closing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, Amha, are we still on, or are we just going to hang up?
Yeah,
we're done. It's all good.
Yeah, I think we're done. I'm going to stop the live stream now, and then I'm going to close shop.
Oh,
Unless
okay.
not, you
And
guys
so
want to